Revealed, pregnant wife exposed to life-changing secrets after husband deserted for mistress. The summer sun blazed over Maplewood, casting a golden hue on the small town that had watched Emily grow from a bright-eyed girl into a devoted wife and mother. But now the air crackled with betrayal. Just as she was about to welcome her second child, her husband, Jake, had shattered everything, leaving her for a younger woman. The whispers of scandal and pity turned her once comforting neighborhood into a cauldron of judgment. How could he? Emily clutched her belly, tears stinging her eyes as she felt the tender kicks of her baby. She was supposed to feel joy, not the weight of abandonment. Neighbors were swift with support, ready to bring casseroles and kind words, but the truth was colder than any dish. It was all a facade, a well-dressed charade hiding beneath colorful potlucks. Each smile felt like a dagger, each laughter a reminder of the family she thought she had. Emily's heart raced as she realized she could no longer depend on the very foundation that had nurtured her dreams. Their home, once filled with laughter, now echoed with secrets not spoken. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As Emily navigated her new reality, her world tilted on its axis. She poured her heart into her children. Faces full of innocence lit her darkest days. In quiet moments, when their giggles filled their porch, she felt a flicker of hope. The spark that ignited her passion for crafting toys came to life. She spent late nights shaping wooden cars and colorful dolls, her hands wielding more than just tools. They molded her destiny. But the world outside her door began to judge her. Some saw her as an inspiration, while others gripped tightly to the preconceived notions they held dear. Tension simmered as her art began to thrive. Thoughts of her economic struggles lay heavy on her heart. Each morning brought a new challenge, but Emily couldn't let the stares and whispers dim her fierce spirit. She was more than a wife left behind. She was a warrior for her children. One fateful evening, the annual Maplewood Fair cast a glow over the town. More than just rides and funnel cakes hung in the air, raw emotions swirled. The night ended with firework explosions, but Emily had one final burst of her own, confronting Jake. Standing in front of startled faces, tears streamed down her cheeks as she demanded an explanation. Love, hurt, anger, and resolve battled inside her. The crowd watched in breathless silence, witnessing the unraveling of Emily's heart. In that moment, she laid bare her vulnerability, and the room trembled with intensity. "You broke our family, Jake. What do you want from me?" she shouted, echoing every mother's heartache and strength. The words hung in the air, coaxing the community to reevaluate their perceptions of love and family. Yet, just as she lifted her head, resolve mounting, questions swirled in her mind. Could she forgive the man who tore her life apart? Could the town dig deeper and see her beyond stereotypes? With each step away from him, a multitude of emotions churned inside her, leaving behind the hope of redemption, but also fear of what lay ahead. What would it mean for her family? Would this be the beginning of new strength, or the end of her once-cherished dreams? Emily stood at the edge of the crowd, her chest heaving as the weight of her words hung in the air. The spectacle before her felt surreal, as if someone else had taken control of her life. She looked into Jake's eyes, searching for remorse, for an ounce of the love they once shared. Instead, she was met with a coldness that sliced through her. Was this the man she had built a life with? Disappointment surged through her, but alongside it came a surge of defiance. She wouldn't let him take her dreams too. The sweet smell of popcorn and cotton candy wafted through the fairgrounds, but all of it felt suffocating. With every step back from him, she felt lighter. The crowd dispersed as the night wore on, but Emily stood firm, her heart still racing. She wiped her tears and put on a brave face. Just as she was about to leave, She caught the eye of Lily, her closest friend. Emotions swirled in Lily's expression, a mix of sympathy and encouragement. "You're stronger than you think, Em. Don't let this ruin you," Lily whispered, grabbing her hand tightly. It was a lifeline, pulling her back from the edge. Emily nodded, yet doubt crept in. Could she genuinely start anew? As the fireworks lit up the night sky, she could almost feel her own hopes igniting. She thought of her children and the life she wanted to build for them, a life that didn't hinge on Jake's choices. The next morning, determination settled in. After the kids were off to play at a neighbor's house, Emily sank into her modest workspace in the garage. Dust motes danced in the sunlight, illuminating the scattered tools she had begun to collect. She took a deep breath, opened her sketchbook, and began to sketch a new project. Perhaps a wooden carousel. It sparked joy just to think of the spinning creatures. She envisioned her children laughing as it whirled under the afternoon sun, their faces aglow with happiness. Days passed, and the project slowly evolved. Each cut of wood was a piece of her reclaiming the narrative of her life, carving out space for hope amidst the despair. Evening skirmishes with exhaustion would see her wrapped in a blanket on the couch, a child on each side, their innocent laughter a balm for her frayed spirit. As her carousel began to take shape, the support from the community poured in, not only from Lily but also from neighbors who had once seen her as just a housewife. They offered materials, inspiration, and even their hands to help. The stigma she feared was transforming into something beautifully unexpected, a sense of belonging. But just as her confidence began to grow, she spotted a familiar face across the street one day while packing her tools. Jake stood there, watching, arms crossed, wearing the same look of indifference. An electric mix of anger and fear ignited in her chest. Why was he here? Were he and his mistress coming to mock her? Or did he want something else? As she stared back at him, her resolve began to shake. What did he want now? The unanswered questions tightened around her like a vice. Every moment of growth she felt in herself was juxtaposed against the unease that settled over her at his sight. Could she truly stand strong, moving forward with her new dreams, or would his presence drag her back down into pain? Just as that thought hit her, she made a decision. Whatever he wanted, she wouldn't back down. With the weight of her dreams and the love of her children at stake, she wouldn't let him steal her light again. As she lifted her chin, preparing to face him head-on, her heart thundered with possibility. What confrontation awaited her? Would she finally reclaim her power, or would Jake's mere presence send her spiraling once more? Emily took a deep breath, choosing strength over fear. She stepped off the pavement, her feet rooted in determination as she walked toward Jake. Each step felt heavier, the weight of their past bearing down on her. The awful memories swirled in her mind, but she pushed them aside. This was her moment. Jake straightened as she approached, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. The sight ignited a spark of outrage inside her, but she steadied herself, refusing to let him see her falter. "Emily," he drawled, his voice smooth and condescending, "I see you're still playing the artist." "Art isn't a game," she shot back, her voice firmer than she expected. "I'm building a life for my kids." "Right," he scoffed, his arms crossing tighter over his chest. "Do you think they'll appreciate a homemade carousel over a father?" His words hit harder than she anticipated. An ache settled in her chest, a painful reminder of everything she had lost. But she shook the feeling off. Her voice was stronger this time. "My children need a mom who believes in herself, not a dad who would rather run away." For a moment, silence reigned. The noise of the fairground faded. Jake's expression shifted. Confusion flickered briefly in his eyes as if he hadn't fully grasped her newfound spirit. She could see him beginning to doubt his own control over her. Emily seized the moment. "You think showing up here gives you power over me? It doesn't. I'm done letting you dictate my happiness." She swept her arm toward the garage, the skeleton of the carousel waiting for her at home, an emblem of her tenacity. "You're trying to be some kind of hero," Jake sneered. "But you're still just a housewife trying to be relevant." "Am I?" She felt the fire ignite within her, her resolve crystallizing. "I'm building something real here. Something beautiful. His smirk faltered, and for the first time, uncertainty washed over his features. He opened his mouth, but the words didn't come. Instead of retreating into his typical insults, he shifted and began to walk away. You'll regret this, Emily. You can't escape the reality you're in. Let me tell you something, she called after him, her heart racing, but bolstered by an unexpected strength. You didn't just leave me, you left yourself behind. I won't be defined by your failures anymore. She could feel the eyes of neighbors on her, some offering silent support, others whispering in shock. It filled her with warmth. She had fought not only for herself, but for every woman who had felt trapped by someone else's choices. And as Jake turned to leave, something shifted inside her. She didn't feel anger as much as a quiet sense of victory. Yet, even in that small triumph, Emily's mind raced with the implications. What games would Jake play next? Would he try to manipulate her through the children? With a sigh, she turned to head back inside, the weight of the confrontation settling like lead in her stomach. The carousel still needed work, and she had dreams to chase. But lingering at the edge of her mind was the gnawing question, could she maintain this newfound courage when temptations or threats became more pressing? As she picked up her tools, her heart felt lighter yet anxious. What plans was Jake concocting behind the mask he wore? There was so much left to unravel. As Emily entered her home, the familiar scent of wood shavings and fresh paint enveloped her. It was a sanctuary filled with memories of hope and creativity, each swirl of color on the walls reflecting her newfound spirit. The empty garage seemed to pulse with potential, waiting for her to bring it to life. But her heart was heavy with concern. Jake's parting words echoed in her mind. You'll regret this. What did he mean? Would he really go so low as to use their children against her? Just the thought sent a chill through her. She shook her head, trying to dispel the dark clouds forming in her mind. Right now, she needed to focus on the carousel, her project and her promise to herself. She laid out her tools and took a moment to breathe deeply. Each breath filled her with determination. She picked up her paintbrush, dipping it into a vibrant blue, and let it glide across a wooden panel. With each stroke, she imagined the laughter of children and the joy that would fill the air when it was finished. This was her dream, a symbol of love, growth, and resilience. As the colors brightened the dull wood, she stumbled upon an old scrap of paper shoved under a pile of tools. It had her kids' drawings on it, joyous stick figures and colorful suns. With a smile, she held it close, feeling an emotional surge. If only they could see her now, pursuing her passions. It was an unspoken promise that she would always fight for a happy life for them. Suddenly, her phone buzzed on the workbench, breaking her moment. It was a text from her neighbor, Sarah. You okay? Heard about Jake. Want to chat? Emily hesitated, the idea of discussing Jake discomforting. But she knew Sarah was a good friend, a person who always listened. She texted back, in the garage. Come over? A few minutes later, she heard footsteps and glanced up to find Sarah standing at the entrance, concern etched in her features. Hey, Emily. How is it going? I saw Jake earlier. Didn't expect him to show his face here. It's good. Hard, but good. Emily's heart raced. Talking about Jake always made her feel raw and exposed, but it felt necessary too. I can't believe he had the audacity to show up, Sarah said, stepping closer and looking at the carousel pieces. You're building something amazing here. And you're standing up for yourself. That's huge. Thanks, Sarah. It felt good to stand my ground, even if it was scary. She paused, the weight of Jake's intentions still heavy in her mind. But I worry what he'll do next. He's unpredictable. I know him well enough that I wouldn't trust him. Just keep your guard up. The last thing you need is for him to stir trouble. Emily nodded, her stomach tightening. I just want my kids to feel safe. They didn't deserve the chaos he brought into our lives. They chatted for a while, discussing everything from the neighborhood to Emily's plans for the carousel. It felt good to talk, to let some of the burden lift off her shoulders. But as they shared laughter, Emily's mind couldn't ignore the stronger emotions gnawing at her. What if he finds a way to hurt us? Emily's voice trembled slightly. His words haunt me before she could finish. There was a loud knock on the door. Both women startled, exchanging anxious glances. Who could that be? Sarah whispered, her brows furrowed. Emily felt an urgent beat in her chest. I don't know. But I didn't invite anyone else. Cautiously, she approached the door and peered out through the glass. Suddenly, her breath caught in her throat. It was Jake, standing there with a smug grin, holding a small cardboard box. What now? She thought, her heart racing. Just when Emily thought she couldn't be more surprised, she opened the door. I brought something for you, Jake said, his eyes glinting with a mix of mischief and something else. What is that? She asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. You're going to want to see this, he replied, lifting the box slightly as if it contained the very answer to her fears. Inside, she could already sense trouble brewing, shadows creeping into her once bright sanctuary. What exactly did he bring? And why did it feel like the calm before a storm? Emily's heart raced as she stared at Jake, the box in his hands seeming to grow heavier with each passing second. It felt as though the air thickened, wrapping around her throat, choking off her voice. What is it, Jake? What do you want? She finally managed to say, her tone sharper than she intended, betraying every ounce of her anxiety. Jake shrugged, his grin widening. Just a little surprise. Thought you'd appreciate it. He leaned in slightly, as if sharing a secret that he couldn't hold in any longer. Let us see it then, Sarah said, stepping slightly forward, protective instincts flaring. Emily silently thanked her. She needed someone to stand with her right now. The feeling of isolation pressed heavily, and she hated the thought of facing Jake alone. Jake, sensing the rising tension, pulled the flaps of the box open. Inside, nestled among crumpled newspaper, lay a small set of framed photographs. With a flick of his wrist, he revealed them pictures of their children at a park, laughing, running, oblivious to the chaos swirling around them. What is this supposed to mean? Emily's voice was hardly above a whisper, laced with suspicion. Just some nice family memories, Jake replied casually, feigning innocence. Might be nice to have to remember what you're throwing away. Emily's stomach churned. You think this is a game? You're not going to use the kids against me, Jake. Not like this. I would never do that, he said smoothly, though the glint in his eye told a different story. But it's true your choices affect them too, Em. You should think about what they want. His voice held an edge that made Emily's heart thump painfully in her chest. You're an expert on parenting now? Sarah shot back, her irritation flaring. You left them. You gave up that right the moment you walked out. Don't act like you care now. A brief flicker of anger crossed Jake's face before he cleared it away. They're still my kids, he said. The words hung in the air, the weight of them heavy enough to cause a rift in the fragile piece that had been slowly stitching itself back together in Emily's heart. She glanced at the photographs again, anguish pooling in her chest. Don't play this card, Jake. They need stability. They need to know they are safe, and right now, you make that impossible. Her voice quivered, but she held firm. Jake stepped back, his posture shifting from aggressive to wounded. Fine. Do what you want, Emily. Just remember, I can always bring more than memories. You really think you can just cut me out without consequences? Get out, Emily said, her voice breaking slightly as tears pricked at her eyes. Get out before I really lose my temper. With a dramatic sigh, Jake put the box back in his arms. I'll be back, Em. And we both know this isn't over. He turned, a last lingering glance at Sarah, before he stepped out, the door closing with a finality that echoed painfully in the garage. Emily leaned against the workbench, breathless. Her hands trembled, still stained with blue paint. Sarah placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, but the reality of the moment crashed down around them. What had Jake meant? What kind of storm was brewing? There has to be a way to protect our kids, Sarah said quietly. We can figure this out together. Just then, Emily's phone buzzed again, pulling her from the haze of fear. It was a text from an unknown number. You need to be careful. Things are not as they seem. Panic surged through her as she stared at the screen. What did they know? And who sent it? The weight of uncertainty settled in her gut. The battle was far from over. What was Jake planning next? And who was this stranger that seemed to know her life intimately? Emily's heart raced, the piercing echo of Jake's words still ringing in her ears. She felt a whirlwind of emotions, anger mixed with confusion, and a fear that clawed at her chest like a wild animal. She glanced at Sarah, who was still standing close, her eyes narrowed in concern. "What do you think he meant?" Emily asked, her voice trembling, searching for some clarity in the storm that had just washed over them. "I don't know," Sarah replied, shaking her head. "But I think we need to be ready for anything." Emily's stomach dropped. "Ready for what?" Suddenly, a loud crash echoed outside, breaking the heavy silence. They both turned toward the garage door, bracing for another unwelcome surprise. But it was just the wind, rattling the old metal door. "Emily, focus," Sarah said gently but firmly. "We need to think this through. He's trying to get inside your head. You can't let him." She nodded, though she felt the weight of uncertainty still pressing down on her. Memories of better days with Jake, carefree laughter, shared dreams were being overshadowed by his latest threats. Unbidden, tears pricked her eyes. "Emily," Sarah's voice broke through her thoughts, "we'll face this together. You're not alone anymore. I promise." Emily managed a weak smile, her strength bolstered just by having Sarah there. "I don't even know where to start." "I do," Sarah replied, her expression stiffening with determination. "You need to talk to a lawyer. We need to know what options you have regarding custody and knowing what Jake might try next." The idea sent a shiver through Emily. A lawyer? Was it really coming to that? What if he uses the kids against me? "I can't bear that. Then we prepare," Sarah said firmly. "Documents, evidence, everything you need to show you're the responsible parent." And this she gestured toward the box Jake had left behind, still resting awkwardly on the workbench. "We'll use these against him if we have to." Emily swallowed hard. The photographs were not just painful memories, they were ammunition if Jake played those games. She needed to take charge of her life and shield her children from the chaos. Just as her resolve began to strengthen, her phone buzzed again. The unknown number rattled her nerves anew. She hesitated before opening the message. "Meet me tonight at the old diner." "I can help." Emily felt a chill shift through her, each word sending warning bells off in her head. Who is this? What could they want? What is it? Sarah's eyes flicked to Emily's phone, a mix of concern and curiosity fussing over her features. "It's another message from that unknown number," Emily whispered, cradling the phone like it might explode in her hands. "Are you going to meet them?" Sarah asked, arching an eyebrow. I don't know. It could be a trap. Or it could be someone who knows something about Jake," Sarah offered. "You have to make a choice, Em. Stay in the dark or step into the light." Taking a deep breath, Emily felt the knot of fear tightening in her chest, but also the flicker of hope. She tightened her grip on the phone, steeling her resolve. "Tonight then," she said. "I'll go." "Are you sure?" "No, but I have to know what's going on. I can't let Jake keep dictating my life." And so, the decision was made. As evening fell, the world outside the garage darkened, but Emily felt a light brewing inside her, a determination to reclaim her life, step by guarded step. But as she prepared for the unknown, what awaited her at that diner? Would she find answers or more questions lurking in the shadows? As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Emily's pulse quickened. The old diner stood at the end of the deserted road, its flickering neon sign cutting through the encroaching darkness like a beacon and a warning. She parked her car, the tires crunching over gravel, every sound amplifying her anxiety. "This is it," she muttered to herself, fingers tapping nervously against the steering wheel. Sarah's words swirled in her mind, echoing the urgency of her situation. She stepped out, her resolve trembling but unyielding. Inside, the diner was an unremarkable affair, booths lined against faded checkered floors, and the scent of fried food lingered thick in the air. The lone waitress, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, gave Emily a cursory glance before returning to her task of wiping down the counter. Emily glanced around. It was nearly empty save for a few scattered patrons, lost in their own worlds. Taking a seat in a booth far from the door, she scanned the room, searching for anyone who might be waiting for her. Her stomach twisted. What if this was a mistake? Moments ticked by, each one stretching longer than the last. She fiddled with her phone, the darkness of uncertainty creeping in with each minute. Just as she considered leaving, the ding of the bell over the diner door broke through her thoughts. He walked in, tall, wearing a well-worn leather jacket and a baseball cap pulled low. Emily's heart plummeted. Unfamiliar, yet vaguely familiar, he had an air of authority that made her uneasy. The man scanned the room before he approached her booth with a nod. "Emily?" His voice was steady, but there was a palpable intensity behind it. "Yeah," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Name's Evan. I'm here to help you figure out Jake." With that one sentence, he took the seat across from her. The weight of his words hung in the air like smoke, heavy and thick. "What do you know about him?" Emily asked, her pulse racing again. Evan leaned forward, lowering his voice. "More than you'd think. I've watched him for a while now. I know what he's capable of." A chill washed over Emily. "What do you mean?" "He's got a lot going on that he hasn't told you. Things that might affect your children, your custody." Evan's eyes were serious, drilling into her like he was trying to read her soul. "I can show you evidence, connections he's made that you wouldn't expect." Emily's breath caught in her throat as the snippets of fear-filled thoughts swirled in her mind. Was Jake really involved in something that could put their kids at risk? "Why are you doing this?" she asked, skepticism creeping in. "Because it needs to be stopped. And because someone has to stand up for you." She liked the sound of that, but doubt nagged at her. "But how do I know I can trust you?" Evan reached into his jacket, pulling out a small folder. "Look at these. And then decide." He slid it across the table, and Emily's hands trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside were photos and documents outlining Jake's recent activities. As she scanned the pages, shock washed over her. This can't be real." "It is," Evan affirmed. "And it's just the tip of the iceberg." She felt the ground shift beneath her, adrenaline washing away the remnants of doubt. Each revelation sparked something fierce within her. But the details were overwhelming. She needed to think. "Emily, we don't have much time," Evan said, urgency pulsing through his voice. "Things are about to get messy. Jake will come after you." Her eyes darted from the folder to Evan's piercing gaze. Could she confront this storm? And if she did, how could she do it without dragging her kids into chaos? As the reality began to settle deep in her core, another thought dug its claws in her heart. What if confronting Jake meant losing everything she knew? "Are you ready to fight?" Evan asked, leaning in closer. A fierce determination sparked in Emily's chest. For her children. For herself. "Yes," she answered, the quiet strength in her voice surprising even her. But as she made her choice, a new fear arose. What kind of fight was waiting for her on the other side of these revelations? Just then, her phone buzzed again, and her heart dropped. The number was familiar. Had Jake somehow found out? What would she uncover now? Emily's hands shook as she stared down at her phone, the screen bright in the dim light of the diner. The name flashed like a warning signal, Jake. Every nerve in her body tightened. What did he want? "Don't answer it," Evan urged, his voice low and steady. "He's trying to manipulate you. You can't give him that power." With a pounding heart, she forced her thumb away from the screen. "What if it's about the kids?" she whispered, fear lacing her tone. "It's always about control with him. Don't let him reel you back in." Her resolve quivered. Confronting Jake had never been on her agenda, but now, she felt the gravity of Evan's words pulling her toward the edge of a precipice. She looked at the folder again, the evidence of Jake's darker side. "Secrets she had never imagined. You can't let fear dictate your next steps," Evan said, leaning closer. His brown eyes were fierce. "He may know about me, but he doesn't know you're aware of what's at stake. Use that to your advantage." Emily's mind raced, but a flicker of hope ignited deep within her. Could she actually outsmart him? Could she protect her kids while seizing the power she thought she'd lost? Taking a shaky breath, she nodded, her decision solidifying. "What do we do next?" "First, we need to gather more information. The more you understand about Jake, the better prepared you'll be to handle whatever comes your way. He pointed to the folder. Those documents are just the beginning. Are you willing to dig deeper? Yes, she said, surprising herself with the strength in her voice. Each heartbeat echoed a sense of urgency and determination. She had always been a mother first, and now she had a new role, a warrior. As they made their plans, the bell jingled again, announcing a new arrival. Emily stole a glance, and her heart dropped. Sarah, her best friend, stepped inside, her eyes wide with concern. Emily, there you are. I've been trying to reach you. Sarah, no. Emily hissed, instinct driving her to shield Evan from view. She couldn't let Jake's world crash into hers. Not now. Not when she was finally beginning to take control. But Sarah's gaze flickered between them, the confusion mounting. What is going on? Trust me, Emily said, urgency clawing at her. I can't explain everything right now. Emily, please, Sarah urged, stepping closer. I'm worried. Jake's been acting strange, and I think he's looking for you. Fear threatened to envelop her again. He knows I'm here? Not for sure, but before Sarah could finish, Evan spoke up, his tone commanding. You need to leave, Sarah. Right now. You don't want to be caught up in this. It took a moment for it to sink in, but then Sarah's expression shifted from concern to disbelief. What is happening? You can't just go, Emily pleaded, her eyes welling with unshed tears. For my sake. But the desperation in Emily's voice anchored Sarah's feet in place. I'm not going anywhere without knowing you're safe. You need me. I can't have you in the line of fire, Emily objected, feeling the weight of the choices crashing down. Glimmers of chaos began to surround her. What had she stepped into? And how far would she be forced to go to protect her family from Jake and his hidden web of lies? As she glanced toward the door, a wave of dread washed over her. The tension in the air thickened, wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. Jake's here, Evan suddenly whispered, his voice sharp with urgency. Emily's heart dropped as the familiar sound of footsteps echoed in the diner. Stay calm, Evan instructed, his demeanor shifting to strategist. Until I say so, don't let him know we know. The door swung open, and Emily's breath caught in her throat. What would happen next? Emily held her breath as Jake stepped inside, his confident swagger unmistakable. He surveyed the diner with predatory ease, his eyes glinting as they landed on her. Panic washed over her. Would he sense her fear? Would he recognize her fragile disguise of calm? Evan subtly shifted, drawing Emily slightly behind him. It was a protective gesture, a silent promise that he would shield her if needed. She felt a rush of gratitude surge within her, but it was swallowed whole by the dread spiraling in her stomach. Emily, Jake called, feigning surprise. There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. She forced a smile, hoping it didn't betray her panic. What do you want, Jake? I thought we were done. His slick demeanor didn't falter. He stepped closer, the scent of his cologne familiar yet suffocating. I just want to talk. You left things unresolved, and I worry about the kids. They need their father. It was almost laughable. The man who had turned her life upside down now played the concerned dad. They're fine. I'm taking care of them. The mask of concern transformed into a smirk. Really? Have you thought about what it means for them to be raised without dad around? What happens when they start asking questions? Emily felt the tension tightening. You're not here for the kids, and you know it. He waved a dismissive hand. Let us not waste time pretending, Em. I want to talk about us, the future, our future. It's not too late. Evan shifted again, positioning himself to shield Emily more. The glance he shot her was filled with urgency. She could sense he was ready for anything. She shook her head subtly, urging him to stay calm. Jake, there is no us anymore, she managed to say, her voice steadier than she felt. Oh, sweet Emily, he said, stepping into her space. You think you can move on? Start fresh with someone else? The words dripped with mocking sarcasm as he glanced at Evan. What is he giving you, huh? A thrill? Excitement? Or maybe you need a shoulder to cry on. The heat within her flared. There was a fire rising to meet Jake's challenge, a resolute strength she didn't know she had. Evan's here for me in ways you never were. It's not your business. Stop pretending, he hissed, leaning in, lowering his voice. You think you can just shut me out? That the kids can grow up without knowing their father? You think Evan can give them what they really need? The desperation in his voice made her skin crawl. Yet, it was the glimmer of something darker behind his words that sent chills down her spine. She had come so far, found her strength, gained allies. Nothing would change that. Jake, she replied firmly, you need to leave. You don't scare me anymore. Is that right? He smirked, stepping back. His eyes narrowed slightly, an edge of menace creeping into his tone. Let us see how long that lasts. Evan stood even taller, subtle tension rippling through him as he readied himself. You need to go, Jake. Now. The atmosphere in the diner thickened like fog, swallowing Emily's breath. She recognized the deadly game. They were caught in one wrong move, and everything might unravel. But just as she prepared to defend her territory, the bell chimed again. Emily turned instinctively, and her heart plummeted. Two men, suited and menacing, entered the diner. Their eyes scanned the room, landing on them. Jake. One of them barked, voice booming, slicing through the air. We need to talk. Emily's heartbeat quickened. The presence of Jake's accomplices shifted the power dynamic completely. She tried to maintain her composure, but dread coiled tighter within her. Was this a moment she had been anticipating, or one that would bring everything crashing down? As Jake turned, their eyes locked for a brief moment, and she saw something unsettling flash across his face: fear. What is going on? She thought, but now she had another battle to fight. This wasn't over. And as she stood at the precipice of chaos, Emily felt the walls closing in. What secrets were hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be exposed? Emily's heart raced as Jake turned away from her to face the suited men, his bravado suddenly evaporating. The air pulsed with tension, the din of the diner fading into a whisper, leaving only the electrifying thrum of uncertainty. What is it? Jake snapped, his voice dripping with disdain as he shoved his hands deep into his pockets, trying to project an aura of control. Cut the act, one of the men said, stepping forward. He was broad-shouldered with a presence that made the entire diner still, drawing eyes and hushed tones. We know what you've been up to, Jake. This charade is over. Emily felt a chill creep down her spine. The realization struck her hard. What kind of trouble had Jake gotten himself into? And how did they know it? She exchanged a quick glance with Evan. This isn't good, she whispered, the fear in her voice palpable. Evan nodded, his stance defensive. Just stay close and keep your head. Whatever happens, don't show weakness. Jake scoffed, a sharp edge to his laughter. You don't scare me. I know how to handle my business. The man stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. You're playing a dangerous game. We're here to take care of unfinished matters. You've drawn more attention than you realize. It's time to atone or face the consequences. Emily's pulse quickened. It was one thing to confront her past, but another entirely to learn that it was entwined with something far darker than she could have imagined. Let us go outside, Jake said coolly, trying to regain a semblance of control. But there was a crack in his voice, a hint of vulnerability that didn't go unnoticed. Before anyone could move, Emily startled the room with a sudden determination. No. If this involves you, it involves me, she declared, feeling a boldness surge within her. You don't get to push me away anymore. Not now. Jake's eyes flared with surprise, then narrowed with irritation. This doesn't concern you, Emily. The lean man in the suit raised an eyebrow at her. There were shadows under his eyes that indicated this talk was serious, and Emily now realized just how deep Jake's lives went. Actually, it concerns her more than you think, Jake. The revelation hung heavy in the air, and suddenly, she felt all eyes in the diner on her. And yet, there was no looking back. Giving in to fear was not an option. What is going on here? She demanded, her heart thundering as she pressed her hands on the table for support. You all need to explain yourselves. This affects me, affects my kids. I refuse to back down. Jake's smirk faded into tension. You don't know what you're getting into, Em. I'm done being left in the dark, she countered. This was it. She was drawing the line in the sand. No more fighting in silence. It was time to face whatever shadows twisted around her life. The suited man glanced at his partner, who nodded, then turned back to Emily. You really want to know? Yes. Her voice rang through the diner, firm and unyielding. The man leaned closer. Jake has been dealing with people you don't want to know. Money laundering, connections with people who don't play nice. This isn't just about a bad marriage. Every word struck like a bolt of lightning, leaving Emily speechless. Reality twisted inside her like a knife, but she steeled herself. This was the truth she sought, the foundation upon which she would rebuild her life. Lies, Jake interjected sharply, his anger mounting. You've got it all wrong. Wrong? The other man cut in, an edge of triumph in his voice. You lied, Jake, and now it's catching up to you. We demand repayment, or there will be consequences for your missing cash. Emily's heart dropped. The chaos swirling around her felt insurmountable. The future she had envisioned, the life she was trying to piece back together, seemed to shatter into impossible fragments. Leave my family out of this, she demanded, feeling her breaths grow shallow. They don't deserve to be dragged into your mess. The suited man fixed his gaze on her. They already are because of him. So you need to decide, right here, right now. Do you want to keep your children safe? Or will you stand beside him when he can't help you? Choice, Emily murmured, the weight of the moment crashing over her. What did it all mean? How could she affirm her identity, protect her children, and navigate these turbulent waters? Don't listen to them, Emily. Jake shouted, his expression a mix of fury and desperation. This is a mistake. Don't mistake my strength for weakness anymore, she shot back, her voice steady. You made your choices. Now you will face the consequences. Evan shifted closer, whispering urgently, we need to get out of here. She met his intense gaze briefly before locking eyes with Jake. The weight of their history hung like fog in the air, but today, she wielded power where she once felt powerless. With resolve anchoring her, Emily rose from her seat. I will protect my family. You need to figure this out, Jake. I'm moving forward. Choose your path carefully. Facing the two men, she continued, you don't scare me either. I won't let your threats change who I am or my dreams for my children. The atmosphere crackled, tension unfurling. This was the decisive moment. With one last, piercing look at Jake, she turned to walk toward the door, with Evan by her side. Freedom beckoned just beyond those diner doors. Emily could feel it, the spark of hope mixed with something fierce, a fighting spirit ignited. As they stepped outside, the world felt bright, the weight of the confrontation lifting with each step. But she knew the battle wasn't over, it had just begun. Are you ready? Evan asked, the weight of their shared resolve evident. Ready, Emily replied, conviction curling through her words. It was time to reclaim her life, not just for herself, but for the kids. Now she would rise, ensuring that the chaos surrounding her wouldn't define her story anymore. And somewhere deep within her, she discovered a fierce strength that whispered, this was truly just the beginning. So now, the time has come to build a new future, a future filled with hope, resilience, and the unwavering love of a mother for her children. You must subscribe now to join this journey of transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Leave a like to amplify the story, and let me know your thoughts about this powerful ending in the comments. And for all the friends who need to see this incredible journey, share this video with at least 5 people. This is the moment to support the channel, and only true fans understand the importance of rallying behind these stories.